What up, fam? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is Agree to Disagree. Talking Sixers after a big win versus Dallas. Let's go.
Uncle Sweeps, Nick Delgazzo, the legendary Brian Wilson, and the fucking man himself, Tom Arnone. These three guys from Jersey bringing you real talk with no agenda. You don't like them? Tough shit. It's their show, and they're going to say whatever the hell they goddamn want.
Welcome in, everybody. This is Agree to Disagree, only on A2D Radio. Every Sunday, we are brought to you by our doc, make them yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, location in Burlington, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. As always, Nick Delgazzo, Greg Mlakovic, I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. No Brian Wilson tonight as well. We got a big Sixers win to talk about. At the end of the show, we'll get a little update from our doc on Joel Embiid, on what he thinks and how he would treat this injury, because a lot of great reports came out today, if you're watching early on in the Sixers game, about Joel Embiid. So we'll dive into that later on in the show. Crumb of the week, we do it every show, every Sunday. We'll do it again. You get yours ready, and let's go. Main topic at hand, keys to victory over the Mavs. Ties right into our poll question, because arguably the biggest key to victory was one Tobias Harris, and that ties right into our poll question, which is Tobias Harris. Sorry, we got phones going off. We will get this aggressive Tobias Harris the rest of the season. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, that's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, and most importantly, join the conversation. You know, you would love to say, yeah. We'll keep getting it, because we've gotten it for now back-to-back nights, or back-to-back games now with Tobias Harris. 30 the other night, and obviously 28 today versus the Mavs. But when you look at it, that's really hard to ask for when it comes to Tobias Harris, because this is the first back-to-back 20-point game he's had since January 30th to February 1st. So that's the first back-to-back 20 he's had since then. His longest streak was 4. That's dating back to December 22nd through December 29th. So they continue to expect this aggressive and this type of production on a night-in, night-out basis for Tobias Harris. I think's asking a lot. Now, in terms of giving me 28, 30, I mean, we even see 20. We even see 20 when you look at that, dating back that long. You're going back a couple months, right? That's no bueno. That's no bueno at all. You're going back over a month before he's had a 20 back-to-back 20-point games. Now, I know he was sick and he missed time, etc., but it still goes to the point that we know Tobias by now. We know what Tobias Harris we get. And I've always defended Tobias, but he's not going to be a guy night in, night out that's going to give you 30 a night, 28 a night. If you get over 20 from him, I always say that's a win. That's a win. Doesn't mean he won't be aggressive. Maybe we will see this aggressive Tobias Harris, but on the offensive side. But I'm going to tend to think we're going to get the guy we've seen here for a while, which is a little bit inconsistent, or a lot inconsistent. He'll have nights and games where you're like, man, if he just came out on this type of attack, didn't go up his dribble so fast, different things like that, played downhill, he could have nights like this every time he's out there. Like, in reality, he could be 24 a night every time he touches the basketball court if he was this aggressive. And what changed tonight was they started doubling Tyrese Maxey and leaves other guys open, and then he started being aggressive when he had the basketball in his hands. But I'll disagree. I don't think we're going to get a bad Tobias. I'm just going to say, like, this aggressive, 28, 30 a night? No, I'll disagree, because we've witnessed this for a long enough time to not fall for it again. Not being negative, to just not fall for the fact that he's going to give me 25 a night.
Yeah, Tommy. I tend to join you in the disagree train. I tend to look at it a different way, though, too. Like, you look at the teams that we played during his run, quote unquote. It's been the Hornets and the Mavs, right? Not really good teams. the Mavs can score the basketball, but as we watched today, they don't play a lick of defense barely, right? But I did like what I saw from Toby. I just think the Tiger stripes are already written on him, that as the games get, as the season winds down and the games get more against teams that are better, I don't think we're going to get this. I loved what I saw. I hope that we see it. This is one of those poll questions where you hope you're wrong. But, yeah, I'm unfortunately going to disagree as well.
Yeah, I don't know how you don't, because that's not him. It's not him. That's not a negative on a guy that I wanted to keep around here. But he's not a guy that's going to be the aggressive guy who's going to carry you night in, night out in the 30 range. Yeah. Right? It's just not. Now, if he does, then good. Riddle me surprised and riddle me a moron. And I'll eat that crow all day, because I would love for this to be the Tobias Harris we get nightly, because that's a team that can win a championship with a healthy Joel Embiid. That's an absolute championship contender if he played with that kind of 1-2 with the ball in his hands. Not defensively, because he's always tough defensively. But when he has the ball in his hands, don't give up your dribble so quick. Right? Want to be downhill a little bit. Want to go to the rack. When you're a max money player, you would expect to get calls in this league. Like, I would start to expect to get calls as soon as I get paid like that. And everybody knows, I'm a max money guy. I'm getting max money. I want to be on the attack all day and play downhill. And today he did a really good job of that. And the other night versus Charlotte. But I wanted to see him back it up versus a bad team in Charlotte versus a better team in Dallas. Not that they're great, but I wanted to see him back it up. And credit to him, he did. And he did when we needed him the most in this game, was when they started doubling Tyrese. You could see that he wasn't able to get his shots he wanted, and had to become other guys. We're going to have to win this basketball game for us, and he's the biggest reason why.
Yeah, he had he had 5 monster points down the stretch. You know what I mean? Knocks down an unreal 3 when they got all the momentum, and then a nice little baseline 2 to extend it into. All you got to do is score once. We talk about all the time, to end runs. You know what I mean? Like, the only way teams can go on these sick runs and come back is if you get skunked. If you come up empty on the offensive end, you turn the ball over and you don't make any free throws. That's the only way teams can come back. And so they got to 5 and there was no panic. And he had a monster shot. So, but yeah, I think it's a disagree across the board. Just as you alluded to, just because we know who he is, and it doesn't make him a bad player. It doesn't make him, he takes a lot of heat for being a max guy, and that's justified, because that's a lot of money. I know it's the NBA. I know it's not our money. I know that's what they're paying guys. But all we're asking for, and nobody asked for that. When the big fella's healthy, nobody asks for this. All right, we ask you to be the third guy, the third complimentary guy. That's all we ask for, right? But the big fella's been out the last couple of years a lot. Let's say it's safe bet, right? Safe bet, all right? And that's not a shot at him. He's an MVP. Would have been back-to-back MVPs had he stayed completely healthy. All right, so we know what you have in the big fella, but he's out a lot. And the more of my point is he can actually rest more if Toby was aggressive like he should be. All right. And then, because today's team, we know it's the Mavs and they don't play any defense, and I get that. Right. But that spread out the 5, the 5 or 6 guys that contributed offensively today. That's what we expect. When we go over the schedule and we say, all right, we know we're not good enough without the big fella, but we can win games if we get that effort out of the 5 or 6 guys that we did today. All right, Oubre was awesome. All right, Toby was awesome. All right, obviously Maxey got shut down for a little while, but he still finishes with 24. We didn't need him to have 40 today, and thank goodness he was all right from the Matrix head injury. That was insane. Paul Reed gave you a monster stat line. That's 13 and 7 and. A couple assists, couple blocks, couple steals. Yeah,
well, while you're on Paul Reed, I think the biggest thing Nick Nurse deserves credit for tonight. I don't know if they did this for Charlotte, right? So I don't want to say they did, but if you notice what they did, the start of Mo Bamba, right, and allowing Paul Reed to be your backup big, right? Even if that's starting Mo Bamba for a few minutes, right? Whatever they are doing there, and then the start of Kyle Lowry alongside of Tyrese Maxey, which I know we talked about that a lot of people thought was going to happen, and then it ended up happening because he's more of a point guard. I think those little two moves sort of calm things down here. It allows Paul to come off the bench, allows Mo to play against probably some of the bigger bigs that his size is better for than Paul's, and it gives you just a little bit more length. I just saw better things. Now with Kyle Lowry, I know Greg doesn't want to ever give, he doesn't want to ever give this move credit, but that's a good move from Daryl Morey, and I think you're seeing it, even though you didn't see the scoring today. I think you just saw the calming down of the offense. You're seeing more and more of it with him running the show than you do with Tyrese, and that's not a shot at Tyrese. I think a lot of people know he's not a point guard.
And when you're well coached, that's all we were trying to say. At least I know I was, in that when we were going over the stretch of games, like we know it's a gauntlet, right? We're just trying to survive. In my eyes, can you be 500 and survive? Because, when you're well coached, that's what good coaches do. That's what great coaches do. They figure out the pieces they have. So when you lose the monster piece in the middle, you can't leave a gaping hole there. You have to, you have to move those chess pieces around, and you have to find out what works for you, what works best. Where can we make up for, not make up for the loss of the big fella, but the 35 points. Where can we get the 35 points that we got from him? Where can we get some defensive stops from him? Where can we get some where can we add some rebounds? Where can we add some, where can you add some different stuff that's going to help you, eventually get to the finish line in these regular season games, and keep us above water in that 6 seed, in that 6 seed range. You want to avoid the Celtics at all costs. Until you have to. And I know for years we always say, who cares? We want to play whoever. And I still stand by that mindset. That's who we are. All right. It's hard to change who we are mentality wise, but let's be realistic. Let's avoid them until it's time. You know what I mean? Like, putting it on the Warriors right now. They put it on everybody. So we know what
they put it on everybody at home too. Especially at home, they just put it on even more. It's crazy how bad they put it on teams at home. But avoid them at all costs as long as we can. But even those minutes, those productions without Embiid, you get 8 from Bamba and 13 from Reed, right? And then their rebounds and their production, you get a little bit more of that. So I think that's it's big. It's big.
Yeah, and the energy that you get from those guys, right? You know what I mean? Like whether they're scoring or at least they're rebounding, right? At a minimum, both those guys at least rebound. But the energy you get, especially from a Paul Reed on there, just continues to just be, pay dividend for this team during stretches when they might be struggling and stuff like that.
Yeah, and at the Tobias Harris circling back to it, since I'm just meaning you guys. I keep getting kicked back every time I talk. I don't know if it's me, but either way, back to the Tobias Harris. And when we talk about aggressive, we're talking here in terms of the point production, right? Not just being like an aggressive player or right getting up 14 shots. When you're getting up 19, you would hope to be in the 20s, right? Like he has the last 2 nights. He's got up 19 points the last 2 or 19 shots the last 2 games. You would expect and hope, right? Or you would never got max money to begin with, right? That you get in the 20s. I got to just walk in the 20, walk into it one time, and I see a lot of people in the chat, talking about the same thing. Well, I thought Michael bringing up something different about Lowry too, but the same thing I said. He knows the stat line does not look good, but he seems to calm everybody down, right? And he had a good stat line. He had a good stat line the night before, though. Again, Charlie did have a good stat line. So the stat line doesn't necessarily show tonight or this afternoon, but I think he definitely brings you something. Definitely brings you something.
Sure. Yeah, and especially when you're down D'Anthony Melton again, right? And you're down Campaign again tonight, right? So yeah, he's going to play elevated minutes or more minutes than maybe I might have thought, right? You guys are, especially you, Tommy, thought he would play this much. I didn't think so, but you're right. He does. 18 years in the league, right? How can you not bring a calming essence to the team when you're on the floor, and even when you're not. So yes, he's definitely playing a role right now, and he was a key part of this game, even though he didn't score. I think he that big three there towards the end of the game, or in the third quarter. He big three that I think stopped the run of them. But yeah, I mean, he's with the injuries, he's going to have to step up, and I'm glad to see that he is doing it.
You just need to continue. That's it. You just need to continue, because I don't know what Greg, the same thing with the Anthony Melton, right? It's the same conversation. Greg Miller. I assume it's the back again. So that's going to continue to be a problem for him moving on when you're talking about a back injury throughout this season and going into the playoffs. So it's really about just trying to get him right and manageable and just be able to get out on the basketball court, right? So that's the big thing when it comes to Anthony Melton, because he was back and it looked like he was playing pretty well too, right? When he came back. Now I don't know if it's just they're just managing it. They could just be managing it too, which is my guess is what they're probably doing. I doubt. I didn't hear him coming back and then say like he re-injured it again either. Mr. Rudy Poo, super chat. Appreciate you, brother. He said it's not. It's what I don't know what the dots are. It's not if it's Kelly Oubre, who's my GOAT. So I don't know what the dots are there. If anybody can spell that out.
To his point, I think Kelly was a huge part of this game. Started off atrocious, right? Started off 0 for everything, but he went back, and it's something that we all talk about being old school guys, is he started taking the ball to the hoop, right? I think he started 0 of 6, 0 of 7 from three-point land, and instead of continuing to up, he's like, yeah, he put his head down, he got to the rim, started making plays, got to the free throw line. He was super impactful this second half, especially when you look at Tyrese Maxey, who had a huge start, 17 points, but then scored 7 in the rest of the game because the Mavs started keying on him. That's where you needed Tobias, as he did, and Oubre to step up in that second half. I think he was really big for us today.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't shoot the ball well from three, but, from the free throw line, we only missed 2 free throws, and we only turned it over 8 times. It's a huge, it's a huge recipe. It's a huge recipe to maintain your lead, and obviously hang on. Because other than the fourth quarter, which we know the NBA, all runs are coming. I don't know why, but we know that our defense was fantastic. Like the 40 burger in the fourth, I don't like. But that's, like I said, we just kind of know how the leg is. But after that 11 minutes and 11 points and 2 minute start, the defense, did a great job of, really locking up, the rest of the game, the rest through 3 quarters until that fourth quarter, which almost got away from us. So, we scored enough, thank goodness. Because when you give up 40, a lot of times, you give up 40-point quarters, you're gonna lose. You're gonna spit the hook back, and you're gonna lose games. So, I didn't. That was the one thing I didn't like about today. Not to. We can nitpick anything. It's basketball, but I didn't like that fourth quarter defensively. You got a chance to bury your team, and that's what you got to do. You got to stay on. You got to stay. Like I said, we know they have Luka and Kyrie, and they can score. They can score the basketball, but we got to be better. We got to be better defensively in the fourth.
Oh, for sure. And it was funny. Tommy and I were going back and forth trying to set the show up. And we're like, of course, the Mavs are making a run to make this closer. We're going to have to sweat this out, before, why couldn't the NBA or those Sixers just do us a favor and just actually blow a team out that they had been the whole game?
Yeah, well, it's, they started out that 11-0 run, and then Nick called a timeout. And after that timeout, Sixers went on a 32-11 run that closed that quarter.
They were electric.
To close that quarter, 32-11 run. That's insane. Insane. You want to talk about just getting after it. Yeah, and they didn't turn the basketball over, really at all. I mean, it ended up with 8 turnovers today. They sort of came late, right? But early on, we weren't turning the basketball over at all. I mean, they turned it over 18 times, I believe, or 17
Yeah,
times.
17.
So 17-8, that's how you get road wins, especially when you're without your best player. That's just how it works. That's how it's easier to walk in the road wins, taking care of the basketball, eliminating second chance points. But that timeout was big. It really was. And it seemed to sort of get us straight. Right. Get us straight.
Yeah.
But he coaches.
Yeah, it's like that settle down. Yeah. Glad that obviously, they did make a run late, but obviously that run being early in the game gives you a lot of time to make up for it. And then Tyrese took over, right? Tyrese dominated that first quarter of that game after that 2-minute mark.
Yeah, that's when he took it over. He had 17 points in the first quarter. Pretty takeover-ish. And then I think he ended up with 19 at the half or something. Right?
Yeah.
He was like a 19 at the
24
half
on the game.
And ended up with 24. But that first quarter is the reason we win this game. Once he started taking over that first, to everything you said, Greg, and then it just went from there. And then we were just rocking and rolling. He got this whole offense started, calmed things down, and sort of changed the momentum of the game early. But plus defensively, we were starting to get back on defense. We were getting back in transition, those little things. And we had a little bit more energy to us. And what you were saying about Kelly.
Yep.
And when you're saying about Kelly earlier too, no, his dunk is what got him started too. So just about what you were mentioning earlier. That dunk got him going. That monster dunk too.
Three of those turnovers were in the fourth of weird, just not weird ones, but we had a shot clock violation in the NBA against Dallas, which should never happen. Paul Reed threw it to a ghost. I don't know what he was doing, and I think Tyree walked, which nobody calls traveling. So we had three bizarre turnovers, in the fourth. We might have had more. I just three off the top of my head. So so we really had almost under 5 probably going to the fourth.
Yeah, and the one Maxey turnover that we did have where it counted as a turnover when he smoked his head, right?
Mm-hmm.
That obviously counted as that eighth turnover, or one of the 8.
Yeah, maybe blow the whistle. Not a foul, but guy's down. He appears to be injured. Let's blow the whistle. Let's go side out. Let's go side out. Jones had to go grab the ball, pick his carcass for a second there.
Yeah, and the strange thing about that play, Kyle Lowry is there calling timeout the same time. Why would we get the timeout in there? The ball was in his lap. It's not like he didn't have possession. The ball was in his lap. They've given timeouts for less than that in the league just throughout the years. It was crazy that Kyle was right there on top of it, and they still didn't give us the timeout there.
Yeah, that was really weird too.
They hooked us back up. At the end. That was a 8-second call. They gave us the timeout for. So all you got to do is look at the shot clock. Even if you miss it, even if you miss it, just go. And the Mavs were obviously pointing to it. So.
Yeah, I thought they missed 2 of them. The second one they didn't, obviously, when they went back and looked at it. But the first one, I was like, oh, I didn't think he got over.
Yeah.
I didn't think he got over at all. But, typically that's the NBA too, right? You'll take the not calling the 8 seconds. But a couple of them, I'm like, are we going to get the ball over? What are we doing? Why does it seem like we can't get the ball over? The one Lowry, froze. And I'm like, Kyle, just get the ball off the court. He went backwards, and then he came back up the court. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Just go up the court. I was just giving you all this credit early in the game for calming things down. Now you want to be a dog on a hardwood floor. Just get the ball up the court. So that was weird too.
Yeah, it's like they almost didn't anticipate the pressure, which they're down. Why would you not anticipate it? Because if you look at every time Maxey got the ball, he went backwards to the baseline. It's the last thing you want to do when you're trying to break a press. You want to obviously be going the other way or be in the middle of the court as opposed to giving them another defender by putting a baseline or a sideline right next to you.
Never drop yourself. Always look to better.
I think we're glitching real quick.
You never. I mean, if you always want to go there, trap yourself. Taught that. Pee-wee basket. Look middle, look opposite.
Real quick. So, when you're talking about getting around the baseline or turning the corner, just thinking about like going backwards when we're talking about like those guys going backwards, the break pressure. For some reason, the things they do really well, I think Oubre does really well too, which doesn't really get talked about. When he turns corner baseline, same with Maxey, it looks like they're like out of room.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, there's no way they're turning baseline. Like even on that Oubre dunk, I'm like, there's no way he's turning baseline, and he goes and turns baseline and dunks it. And Maxey's got like a real niche for, you know, being able to not step out of bounds. Like he'll turn baseline all the time, and he'll be like, wait, what? What did you just lay that in, or did you turn the corner there? Like that's stuff that's really hard to do. That those two guys seem to do pretty well, especially Oubre. He's like quietly quick. You know,
he's got a burst to him. Yeah.
Greg says, I didn't know until today that Minnesota Timberwolves are currently leading the West. Well, the West has been like all over the place. You know, the West has been, it's everybody jumbled up. Is it the Timberwolves or
Wild West?
Is it the Timberwolves or is it the? I mean, I guess if he's saying it's the Timberwolves and it's Timberwolves, or is it?
It's the T-Wolves. They're half the game up on the Thunder. I was going to say the Thunder have been there for a minute too.
Well, that whole list, right, is three teams within a half a game of each other.
Yeah.
The Clippers 3 games, and the 5 seed is 6.5 games out of the 1. So those four teams are all in that top seed out west. Where
and 3 of those teams probably you didn't think were even going to be there.
Yeah, and here out east,
Thunder and Pelicans.
Yep, and out east, it's a runaway. It's a one team race. One team race. But Sixers right now in the 5,
the 5 spot.
Tied with the Knicks for the 4. I mean, they're tied essentially. So same exact record.
Yeah.
The Knicks have lost 2 in a row. Sixers have won 2 in a row. Bucks have won 5 in a row. And the Celtics are about to win 11 in a row. I mean, goodness. Imagine being able to win just 11 in a row like that.
And the Heat are right behind us. They're a game behind us. And shockingly, the Magic are right there, too. Game behind us. I should pay attention to my hometown Magic team a little bit more.
Well, a young group,
Yeah.
Young group that's
playing well.
Just get better. Just keep getting better. Chiquita says, "What's up? What's up, Chiquita?"
Hey, Chiquita.
And Greg Miller about the Nuggets are starting to look like the Nuggets. Yeah, they're starting to turn it on. And Eddie brings up the fact that Maxey doesn't turn the ball over a lot either, and that's a great thing to have. Right, Eddie? That's something you definitely want from any of your guards handling the basketball. It is not a guy who turns the basketball over a ton. He said he only had like 3 true ones today. So whatever you want to take. I mean, the 4th one, like I said, doesn't really count. But he does a good job at that. They all do. They got a pretty good backcourt here. Not a lot of turnovers. I think your biggest turnover guy is Joel.
And when he was healthy, he had cut down on them for the most part. So he was better, especially coming out of the double teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, he was. I mean, that was something we talked about early on, was that we thought he was doing a really good job of breaking doubles, not panicking when the doubles do come, and making the right pass. And he was doing a really good job of that. It's like every year we talk about something different when it comes to Joel Embiid that he got better at. And every year, it's like, oh, I got better at this, and then we get to a certain point, and he's out again.
And he
I was like, man, like guy was just trending in the right direction. What happened? Well, what happened here? It's so yearly.
And it kind of gave you a glimpse too, when he was healthy with the likes of Batum and Kelly Oubre and those types of guys that can shoot the ball from the outside, of what it might look like on steroids whenever he gets back healthy with Buddy Hield, right? You know what I mean? Going back to that.
Yeah, it's something we're looking for. If you're just joining us and you haven't yet, hit the like, subscribe, follow, turn your alerts on, stay with us. Talking Sixers, Mavs, a little post game there, and just some keys to victory today. And we're just breaking it all down as we go. And we got a little crumb of the week, and then we'll see if our doc has time to come on later on and talk about Joel Embiid and his injury and when we expect to see him back. And the bigger thing is they brought it up on the telecast today, so we'll get into Joel Embiid and all that stuff as the show goes on today. But let us know if you're just joining us about our poll question. If you haven't, we will get this aggressive Tobias Harris the rest of the season. Do you agree or disagree? And you can still let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, that's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, join the conversation. Tell us what you think. And we all unanimously, it was a unanimous decision here on A2D. Doesn't always happen that way. Doesn't always happen that way, but it was unanimous that we disagree because that is something that's been going on forever, for as long as we have known Tobias Harris. As much as I have defended Tobias Harris, right, over alternatives, right? It's really defending Tobias Harris over alternative options, throughout the years. That that's what it's been. It's been this defend because of his defense, everything else. So, I don't know. I don't know. But we'll keep hoping it changes, right? We'll keep praying.
Yeah.
Whatever you pray to.
I mean, it's one of those things where it would be warranted. It would be nice because we could tread water if we get this Tobias Harris every night. Like you said, even a 20-point Tobias Harris every night gets us to tread water without Joel Embiid. Right? Just somebody else aside from Tyrese Maxey to take pressure off of Tyrese as, teams like tonight, teams then key off of him and double him. Well, that's where Toby stepped up, right? So Tyrese had that great first quarter, and then Toby had a good second quarter, and him and Kelly kind of took over the second half when things were starting to get a little dicey, right? And that's what you want from your veterans. And again, like you said, we would love to be wrong about this poll question and have this Tobias every night, but we just know what that Tiger stripes are.
Yeah, we've been through it. We've been through it long enough.
Yeah, I mean, even Stephen A. Smith said it on the halftime show. Same thing. Like we kill the guy when he's not good. So we got to make sure we mention him when he is good, and we'll always do that as well. But yeah, it's we need this guy. We need him to continue to tread water because we have about 10 more games without Joel, right? You know what I mean? If there's like 20, 21 games left, I think that March or that April timetable puts 10 games to the end of the season for Joel. So we have 10 more games left to get halfway decent Tobias Harris.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what Tobias we continue.
We're not holding our breaths.
No, nor should we. No. Chris Mortensen passed away. Senator.
No.
That's what Martian just said.
Did he really?
That was a great one.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't look great for a long time, so damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it does. That sucks too, Martian. Defending Tobias is a thankless job. You're just defending him as like a third option, right? Everything in keep everything, keep it in what we're talking about, right? We
Right.
never talking about like defending him as like the guy you're gonna build your team around. It was always defend Tobias Harris as that third option.
Yep.
You can't defend it as a fourth because it was too much money, but as a third, there was no reason you can't defend it.
Yeah.
Well, try to at least. Try to. And then
You had to. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll give you games like this, and it'll sell you. And it'll be like, he's back. He's back. He's gonna do this on a night in, night out basis, and then he never does. So never does at all. It's not ideal. Not ideal. I'm trying to read comments. What was your question? Fellas, what would satisfy y'all in the playoffs? I don't know. It's not like Joel's like 25, right? It's not like Joel's like 25 years old. Right, where you're like, just get the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
I'll feel good. I'll be happy. You're not going to hear anything from me if you just get to an Eastern Conference Final. No, I can't say that anymore.
Yeah, I think those days are over, Tommy.
And I know you're going to get a Boston probably, or you're going to get a Milwaukee. You're going to get somebody really good, and I get that. And a tall task. You're going to get a tall task. Tall cup of water. Tall glass of water you're going to get.
Drink of water.
Nice tall drink of water you're going to get in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I don't care anymore. It can't be about like, you know what? You got there. No, I got to hang stuff from my rafters. If that's an Eastern Conference Finals banner, love being NBA Finals banner, but you got to get there. I think we've waited too long, Don, to this question of just being okay with getting over a hump. I think you have to not only get over a hump, you got to jump it big time. You got to jump that hump big time. What do you think, Greg? What do you say?
No, I'm with you, right? It's because sooner or later it becomes the same thing every year, right? Joel Embiid's injured. All right, we get that. So then our team's got to rally around Joel at some point, whether he's not playing, whether he is playing, whatever the situation might be. If he comes back, we have to get to an Eastern Conference Final. If for whatever reason he's not healthy and he's not back, then naturally your expectations change. But if he's back, like they say he's going to be April and have 10 games, then my expectation is going to be the same as it was going into the year, and you're going to have to minimum get to an Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I mean, so your minimum, I guess I'm okay with like the minimum getting to an Eastern Conference Finals, but I think it's got to be bigger than that, right? Further than that. I think you have to win one, right? I don't think you can just keep getting it. Not just keep getting there, but I don't think just getting past the second round.
There, right?
Yeah, no, but I just think like just saying like just getting over your hump and just getting there is all you need. I think that's like just settling. Like we're just settling, like marginally better. That's all that is marginally better. I mean, to us, right. It seems like we're going to run the broad street because we got to have a second round, which in reality we're built to win now, right? We're built to win now. We're not built to win 5 years from now when Joel Embiid's 50 per se, body wise, or according to KZ, he can't walk again. And we're gonna have the doc on in a second. We're gonna pull Doc up in here in a minute. We're going to talk about, Joel Embiid learn to use the leg again, as we talked about last week, according to some people. Like, it was pretty funny, and we'll get into it all. And we're going to get into all Joel Embiid conversation because let's bring Doc up here in a second here. Yo, Doc.
Hey, Doc.
What's up, guys?
It's Dr. Paul Vidal, everybody. Specialized physical therapy, Burlington, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. We're going to talk some Joel Embiid with him.
Oh, I don't think we've ever done that with you, Doc, have we?
No. First time.
First time, long time.
Oh, it's amazing. Never had this conversation before.
Not at all.
But now, Doc, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the beginning of the game, but they said he is, back doing light stuff at practice, and he is now able to lift weight 100% of what he was lifting prior on that knee with that leg. So it seems like some promising news, and they say he's on schedule, which is a return date, I think, of like whatever that was, that 6 to 8 week mark.
Yeah.
So some positive stuff has come out. No setbacks. Now, wouldn't those setbacks sort of be early, Doc? Or I guess you get setback at any time, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could have a setback at any point in the rehab time frame, but the fact that he's, I think it's February 6th with the surgery, so he's just about a month now. So he's 4 weeks. So I mean, if he's doing what he's doing right now, that's pretty good progress. Obviously that's not a game situation, but to hear what you just told me, that's positive news, no doubt.
Yeah, big time, big time. Now, we were saying when you're talking about somebody besides like a professional athlete, like, is that timetable at 6 to 8 for most athletes? That timetable of like those types of activities?
Yeah, I mean, well, to get back to for most people, like I had to look at it because they keep saying that he had a procedure to repair his knee. So, but it's a little misleading, I think, is because when you're dealing with a meniscal injury, if you're technically repairing the meniscus, you're actually trying to use you're sewing up the tissue. You're using your own tissue to kind of heal. If you have a surgery just to take out bad piece, the flap, that's a meniscectomy as opposed to a repair. The reason I bring that up because there's two different time frames. So if you have a repair done and you use your own tissue, sew it up, that assumes there's a certain level of blood flow that's still viable to the tissue, but it takes longer to heal, and you're gonna need longer than 6 to 8 weeks. But if you just took out that flap that I think they were talking about, and they cut it out, so meniscectomy meaning take it out, then that's probably what they did. They cleaned it up a little bit. You can heal quicker and get back to activity quicker, assuming the knee itself is in good shape too. I mean, he has a history with that knee, so we'll see what happens with this.
Yeah, we will. We
Yeah,
will.
I mean,
Enjoy.
yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, and he could be lifting weights. That's great. That's very I want to say like uniplanar, if that makes sense. When you get on the court and you got to pivot, you got to cut on it, you got to twist on it and rotate. That's a whole different thing, and that's how usually a meniscus gets injured, is some type of twisting and turning on it. Aside by being contacted as well. I think when that guy fell on his leg, that was just kind of the last. That just finished the deal, so to speak.
Yeah, there's reports that came out. Pat Beverly, actually, which he doesn't have a problem putting reports out at all on his own podcast. But Pat Beverly reported that he was dealing with that pain for about like 6 to 8 games straight, where he was trying to manage that pain of that knee, like it was really bad. So like you said, it was a matter of time, and that was just the final nail into that knee's coffin, per se. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm glad it happened now, and then him try to get through that and continue to fight through it, and then obviously, like he did every year, come playoff time, it be done. But what is it? Is it asking a lot for him to be back end of this month? Is that too soon, or is that right on time?
Well, so the end of this month makes it like almost, I guess, about 8 weeks, right? Because March is a long month, right? So it's February 6th. Then we have up to March 6th, which is this coming week. So that's 4 weeks. And then, it's going to be around the end of March, going to be around 8 weeks. So, I mean, if you look at normal tissue healing, that's what you need. That's 6 to 8 week mark for someone who's probably like in their almost 30s or so. And then it's just, can he get in condition and get game ready? If he was just walking up and down the street and going to work, so to speak, yeah, no problem. But we're talking about, professional athlete with a lot of intensity there and load on the knee. So, it's definitely a different beast. But again, these guys are also at a different level than us in terms of conditioning and how they can respond. So that's a variable to consider. But he also has a history with the knee before. I believe he had an issue with the meniscus before as well. And it might have been the medial meniscus. This one's the lateral meniscus now, just the outside one. But nonetheless, that history there may be a factor in his rate of recovery. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, I
Absolutely
mean,
makes
it's
sense.
like I forget. I mean, when does the season end? It's April? No, or I mean, it's a long
Middle of
season.
April. Middle of April.
Yeah, I think April 14th might be the last game for the Sixers.
You know, it may be. You know, it's. I mean, I know he wants to get in there and start helping them right away. But you know, they might look at it, see where they're at without him over the next month and what position they are, and can they, you know, if they're in the playoffs guaranteed, because right now what they're in the sixth position or so, something like that. I mean, they're not guaranteed a spot, but I think you just said a couple minutes ago, Tom, they're built to win now, you know. So
Yeah, yeah.
my sense is like, you know, if they're in good position, maybe they would give him more time to uh to get into condition instead of trying to rush him back to make, you know, if they're not already qualified for the playoffs, they might say, "Hey, get back sooner." But then, you know, it's kind of like, all right, we're risking something. And then, you know, how are we set up for the long term? Meaning, like the next year or two, is it still going to be, you know, something that that is going to be an issue for him?
Yeah, and bothers them for sure because we're trying to get past it, trying to get
Right.
that thing 100% right, so it can be something in the rearview mirror instead
Yeah.
of it constantly being like a knee problem for him on that knee year in year out. So yeah, that's how I always thought of it too. Like the more they're winning, the more they're, you know, not where they want to be, but they're good with the place and the seating they're at. Then they're going to give it as long as they can. You know, I think
Yeah.
my
Right.
hope for him was like my personal hope for him was like beginning of April. So I could get him out there for, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, whatever it is, whatever's left on the schedule. I want to be able to get him that cardio. You know, I think that's just the most important thing for him coming back. You know, game shape wise is just going to be his cardio, his conditioning, which we
Yeah.
know when Joel's tired, he looks like crap.
Yeah.
So we don't want Joel to be tired.
Yeah, I think there's 2 dates coming up. There's this March 27th, they're home against the Clippers, and then April 2nd, they're home against the Thunder. I would assume that when he comes back, they're going to bring him back at home. If they bring him back against Clippers, that's 10 games. If they bring him back against the Thunder, that is 7 games.
Yeah. And then, you know, like what type of minutes does he get? I mean, you know, I'm not sure how much, you know, like Paul Reed can be in there, and then, you know, if there's Buddy Hield and all these guys, if they, you know, if they're laying it up, you know, and they don't have to rely so much on the center, maybe he can get in for 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, a couple minutes each quarter. Um, I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing, you know, so he's not just in there the full game.
And now, Doc,
Yeah.
when he does come back, is there going to be what's the pain threshold going to be? Is it going to be heavy, or is it by that time is it going to be minimized?
I mean, what he's experiencing.
What's
I
he
mean,
going to experience potentially on the court?
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think a lot. You know, I was reading up. You know, he has some up and down days. You know, he's more sore than others, and other days he feels good. And I think that localized inflammation in the knee, if that inflammation from the injury, and then also there's inflammation post surgery because there just is. So if anybody's had surgery, obviously you know there's swelling there. You know that can be controlled as he ramps up his loading, and the tissues are not as irritated or sensitized, right? So then you don't experience as much pain. You know, you can be weak and not flexible and have no pain, but like if there's inflammation in that area and the tissue is irritated, then you know you're going to have some pain. So uh, so my sense is as he loads up, he's going to experience some level of soreness or pain at each new level of load, so to speak. But as long as it's on a manageable level, like, you know, we tell people, yeah, if you can have your symptoms within a 2-point sliding scale, we're good, because we know we're going to experience some symptoms there. But if you're coming into, like, say, the office and you're 2 out of 10 pain, and now you have 8 out of 10 pain, well, we slid too far. But if we did an exercise and you're 2 out of 10 and you got like a 4 out of 10 pain, all right, no big deal. We know to expect that. That'll calm down, and then we move forward again. So now they may have a similar mindset, or not mindset, but a similar like procedure to follow, like on a sliding scale there, as long as it's an acceptable level of symptoms.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about like him having pain when he got back on the court. You know, I was almost hoping that it would just be, he'll be feeling 1,000 times better. But I guess after doing some But I guess what this is all about too, right? The slow build, right?
Yeah.
The slow build of practice, slow conditioning, things like that, slow movements, right? Start to build him back up to get used to it again, right? For the knee to be able to handle it. Or say, I think like KZ said last week, learn to walk again, which I thought was a little, going a little far here. I don't think he's going to have that big of a problem with it. I think it's just going to be something. It's just getting his body back up physically and back up in a cardio way. I think if those two things get back up the snuff, we're going to see the same Joel Embiid we saw pre-injury. We might even see a better one, means he won't have nearly the type of pain he was dealing with pre-injury. That's the whole thing. So he might have some, like Doc said, Greg, he might have pain that's like a 2 out of 10 or, somewhere in that range, but he's probably not going to be dealing with the 7 or 8 that he was dealing with pre-surgery for sure.
Needing the numbing spray on the bench.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, they're like me. They were like me with mine. That's how I was doing with mine. I was like spraying it down. Thing turned white. I'm like, this is a different color. Oh, it needs a different color with all this spray on there.
And, the other and by the time the playoffs go, most of those guys are in pain anyway, a long season, so having a 2 out of 10 pain, whatever it is, we're just using that as an example. It may just be normal for that point in time, because they've had a long season. But well, it's a wait and see game. He just has to continue working and put the work in. He wants to be out there. Heck, if he's in 8 out of 10 pain, he's going to say he's ready to go. I mean, that's just who Joel Embiid is. He's just a kind of a competitor like that. So I don't think anybody really wants to say I don't want to be in there, except for maybe one guy we know of, but he's not with our team anymore. But he's gonna want to be out there.
Both guys.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. But it's positive so far. So hopefully he can continue to keep making progress.
Yeah, KZ, I don't know where he come up like goodbye to his athleticism. Doc, is that what's happening here? Like, you guys gonna have no athleticism anymore?
I mean, it's funny. I'm a big fan of Embiid being like in the post and staying there. He likes to dribble and make believe he's like a point guard. I don't know if that's what this guy's talking about. Like, he's trying to make all these moves on the court. I mean, you're not that type of player, and I don't know if that increases his risk a little bit because he's trying to do too much. Whereas as opposed to like just getting fed the ball, make a move, and boom, done. Like he can almost dunk it every time if you had to. But I will say this, and when you're in pain, you move differently. I mean, we've said that before in previous years when we've talked about injuries. When you're in pain and in areas, your tissues inflamed, the body moves different, just how it is. But then that's why you rehab and you go through not only strengthening, but kind of coordination and movement retraining. So, to get back and get that confidence back. I think we talked about, gosh, what was it with Carson Wentz? I believe it was with his knee, and like, just having the confidence to be able to move like you want to is that's a different thing than just getting stronger. And maybe that's what KZ here is talking about. Will he be the same again?
Yeah. I find that hard to believe where KZ's going, that he won't be. Right. I think we're acting like they redid the whole knee here. There's a bunch of new pieces and nothing still left over. I don't know. I feel like he's talking like he got ACL, MCL, a little dab on the meniscus and anything else you can find in there that I don't even know enough because I'm not educated enough to know about. So that's where I feel like KZ's had it. I mean, we're talking about a 6 to 8 week type of injury, not a year-long type of recovery time. So to tell you all you know about the type of injury he's dealing with, KZ, you know what I mean? And I don't, like you say, should he come back if he's feeling pain? What does that even mean? Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. He gets paid to play basketball. He's paid to win games.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's obviously trying to get over his own playoff hump. But I don't think he's going to come back. Like, he might come back and have experience like pain early on from it, but it's not going to be like the pain he was dealing with prior to it. It's just going to be him learning to move again a little bit with it, or trusting it. Not even learning, trusting, right, Doc? Like trusting your movements again, not learning your movements again, right?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, you have, Embiid had this flap. That's what they call it. It was like I might be. Am I frozen? Maybe not.
You're
Okay.
good.
Oh, okay, good. So, a lot of times a certain type of meniscal tear, it's like there's different types of tear, but he had like a flap. So like sometimes that flap can kind of just like flap up, and it's like it gets in the way of like the upper leg bone, the femur, kind of moving with the tibia, which is the lower leg bone, right? And that can be a very painful thing. Bone on bone is exposed, but sometimes that flap can just go back down and almost be put right back in position, and you feel good. But then it intermittently kind of flaps back up. So hopefully what they did was just take that piece of flap via the meniscectomy procedure, and now it's not flapping around, and they kind of clean it up. They make the edges nice and smooth, and then it just has to heal up. But then there is that point where that tissue used to be. Now you potentially have more bone on bone contact though. So, um, you know, in the long term, these meniscectomies buy you time, uh, you know, for any other procedure in the future. Not to say he would need a knee replacement, but sometimes they'll do meniscectomies just to kind of get the bad piece out, and we'll see how you do. Get it strong, get it flexible, and see how you do.
Okay, so did this change? Like, did that kind of procedure change his athleticism though?
Oh no. I mean, no. I mean, athleticism is. I mean, I guess you can define it many ways, but um, it'll change how his knee moves initially. It'll change his strength initially because there's swelling there, right? And that's just locally right at the knee joint. But to me, athleticism is also one. It's a mindset thing, and things you've learned, but also what your nervous system has learned to do. So when you get a meniscectomy, your nervous system hasn't unlearned, right? You just have now a stiff knee and a knee that's probably a little weaker. In this short amount of time, I don't think you would lose your athleticism if you define it as more of a more whole thing, complex thing, as opposed to just strength and range of motion.
Yeah, I was thinking more range of motion. Like the range of motion isn't going to be a big deal for him. It's more where my head was going, more than like KZ's athleticism, like not being able to walk again. Because last week you would have thought he had to get a 3D print. It was like a 3D knee replacement print done. Like I'm glad we didn't have you on last week, Doc, like we talked about. I'm glad it ended up being this week because you would have been in for a long one with KZ. It was a long one. A lot of things were said.
A lot of things are broken.
Yeah, he's scared of him ever. He's scared to ever see him walk again. He's really holding out hope that Joel's going to come out of this being able to walk. So hopefully the ABC report this morning or the ESPN report this morning that he's back in terms of like slow practice, like back on the court at least. And I think the lifting 100% of the weight he was prior, that's pretty encouraging. I don't think it's discouraging at all.
Yeah, I guess. I guess they were talking about what he was lifting with his leg, or just lifting overall. Because I mean, if he was lifting bench pressing, that's one thing. But if he was,
no, they were saying like with the leg, he could lift the same. He was back to being able to lift the same amount of weight he was prior to it, which I thought was like, oh, okay, like nice. I didn't think we were getting that report today. You always assume, and they're like, well, we got an update on Joel Embiid. You're like, here we go. And today was a little bit exciting. And here he is, Bill Middlebrook. When isn't Embiid hurt? He'll be a bench player within 3 years. Yeah, he's not going to be a bench. Oh, my God. No, I'm just going to end you there. Like, when isn't he hurt is real. It's a real conversation. There's no lies there. No lies there. But then when you go be a bench player in 3 years, just stop. Stop, Bill. Bill's all 6 to midnight because the Celtics are blowing out the Warriors when Steph Curry was questionable to play anyway.
Yeah.
If you saw him walking into the joint, you could see he was hurt. Who cares, Bill? The Celtics are loaded. Everybody knows it. We all have eyeballs. We don't need your reminders on how good Boston is. And we tell you every time you come on, Boston's our daddy. So you're saying it could be almost like a prereq for a knee replacement down the road? Almost in a way?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how arthritic the knee can be in any individual.
Because you're saying the bone will start to rub more and more and more.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the general thought process, and then it becomes so painful. What do you do, right? So you can get it injected. You can do another, arthroscopy, meniscectomy, whatever's left. Some people, rehab it can be fine. It all depends on like your level of activity. I mean, I've seen some people, honestly, though, they'll come in with X-rays, complete bone on bone, and they don't need a knee replacement. You get them stronger, you get them more flexible, you get them moving, and they can do without it. Okay. A lot goes into that. Their overall health and fitness and nutritional level goes into it. So we talk about these sports athletes. They're hopefully they're at the they're at the top of those things.
Not in a Chick-fil-A drive-through. Yeah. You're hoping that top notch.
Yeah. I went to that other place in Burlington the other day. I forget that place. Canes? No, I forget what it's called.
Raising Kings.
Raising Canes.
Yeah, man. I waited forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do wait forever. I had that this afternoon.
Yeah. Greg's a big chicken guy, as you can tell.
Oh yeah.
Big chicken guy.
I felt targeted when we talked Chick-fil-A. I was like, well, I'm right here.
No, I'm not targeting you and your sauce decisions. I'm more talking that I think and I hope that those younger eating habits have changed for him too, just in terms of his overall taking care of his body better, and things you start to have to do as you get older as an athlete or just a person in general.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I mean, this is, because we're talking about professional athletes, so obviously they're paid to do their job, and then their employers want them obviously back as soon as possible. So they'll do things maybe for the short term that will help them get there. And what I'm saying about that is that the studies on these knee scopes, right? Like meniscectomies or cleaning out in the general population, in the short term maybe, but in long term they almost have very little value. So for a long time, these scopes were being pushed a lot, and now there's some thought that maybe they're not as valuable or useful as they used to be, or thought we thought they were. And there's some more evidence to suggest, hey, doing a conservative care like physical therapy or other conservative cares to get that knee stronger, get the quadriceps in particular and the glutes strong to help support that knee is the way to go, as opposed to doing surgery. And then if worse comes to worse, they can't do it, then and they can't make it, then maybe that's when a knee replacement comes into the conversation. So yeah, there's a lot of emerging stuff that's come out. It's really good because you have to stay contemporary in your thought process, and also how you manage folks with different conditions. And what we were doing 5-10 years ago is different than what we're doing now.
Well, let me ask you a question on that then. So when you talk about Joel, and he's different than the normal guys walking the street, right, Doc? Now with him, it's the same type of procedure. It's short term, right? Is that what I'm taking from that, right? This is like more of a short term procedure that, and nobody knows like a year or 2 years, but at some point something else is gonna have to get cleaned out of that knee, or the other conversation, which a knee replacement, right? I would assume is when you mean short term, like 5-10 years, right? Or we mean short term, like, hey, this time next year, right? Like, I guess everybody's different, right? And I'm messing around a little bit with it. But when you hear knee replacement, I'm thinking like, okay, the guy's 70, that's officially worn out. He's absolutely gonna have a knee replacement at some point of his life that we'll get an alert at like 65 that Joel got a knee replacement, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's almost like, I mean, if you look at his trajectory of his injuries, would it surprise me when he's later on in life and he's not playing, would he go for a knee replacement? Yeah, that would not surprise me at all. But what I mean by short term, I'm thinking like this season, and maybe for getting him ready for next season, is that, hey, they want to get him back. This is the thing we could do. But if you and I, all three of us, had a flap in our meniscus, we might not even do anything. The approach might be like, all right, guys, we got to strengthen this. Let's get it going. Let's get it moving better, more flexible, and just let it be. And then let's see how you're able to function, because you and I all three of us, we're not professional athletes. We need to just be able to do our daily activities. Maybe we need to exercise a bit, and you might be fine. But I think because he's a professional athlete, he has to really function at a high level. And we're talking that he needs to perform in the short term, all three of us have time. We're not like in a season, so to speak. Our season's all year. Their season is like, in a shorter time frame. So I think that changes the conversation and how it's being managed. Because if they said, "Hey, yeah, you got all the time in the world," and he all they have to worry about him is just walking and going to work, they might not do anything. But
Yeah.
that's not the case for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense when we break it down like that. So it's good news, though. I mean, good news in terms of him, and feeling better and all the things that we were hoping to hear. Because again, you're watching the Celtics play right now. We're not beating them or anybody without Joel Embiid. I mean, the differential in records with Joel Embiid in the lineup and without Joel Embiid in the lineup, the win percentage for this season is like historical in the NBA. It's an historic win percentage number with and without. Now, you expect that in a league that's driven by stars. You expect that, like, take LeBron in his prime off of any team, they're not going to be as good, right? We know that. But you hope that there's enough around it. And I think it's like twofold, too. Not only is the best player on the planet not playing and on your team's not playing, but then you make these deadline moves and some things get changed around. And I think it's this, and you got a newer coaching staff. I think it takes a little time, too. And I'm hoping these last two games were more of what we're going to see moving forward with the Sixers and not those blowouts that we're sort of seeing when they're trying to find their way and find their footing when he went out. Then you make a deal, and then some blowouts happened in that timetable, and some good basketball too. There was a little bit of good basketball, but a couple of blowouts were like, dude, how are we even serviceable without him? Now I think we're starting to see that fight and that punch, and his coaching staff sort of figure out how they want to go about their rotations, because every day they're dealing with somebody else out. No Melton today, so you're down another guard. And I think Nick Nurse has done wonders. I mean, I know Greg didn't love it. I'm not taking shots at Greg. He's just right next to me. So I say, Greg didn't like it. He would have rather had Pat Bev, but I'll stand by taking Kyle Lowry over Pat Beverly. I'll stand by it. I'll just stand by it. To me, if you're asking me as a player who I'm going to listen to more, I'm going to listen to the guy who's been to All-Star games. I'm going to listen to the guy who's won an NBA championship and has done a lot of winning in this league as him as one of the lead dogs. I'm going to listen to him. Not that I'm not going to listen to Pat, because I think Pat's tremendous with that stuff. But if you're asking me which one I'd rather have, give me the 36, 37-year-old Kyle Lowry who's still taking charges like he did today, still doing the little things, Greg. He's still a dirty dog like we hated, 4 or 5 years ago when we played Toronto. This guy got another call. He's just running into your body, running into somebody else's body. But I think we have to know that this is twofold. Not only is it a guy like Kyle Lowry who's a winner, right? But it's a guy who really knows Nick Nurse's offense. That's the most important thing that we can take out of this, because you can see how it's more calm over these last two games. They've gotten the ball in the hands of the player that they want taking shots, right? You saw that. You saw a little bit of chaos previously when they were trying to figure that out. There was a little bit of chaos on the court. Yep. You were wondering how Buddy Hield wasn't getting shots. How's Buddy Hield not getting shots? Well, if you don't have a point guard that knows your offense in and out, I think that could create some bad ball movement. Billy, you can laugh at whatever you want. You want to laugh at box scores, babe. I'm not laughing about it. If you watch the game with eyeballs, you would see the impact he had. If you watch the game in Charlotte, he had an impact and he had a box score. I'm not telling you he's the same player. I'm comparing him to Pat Beverly. So again, you want to start having conversations. I was comparing him to Pat Beverly. Wasn't comparing him to LeBron. I'm comparing him to Pat Bev. I can't stand Bill during basketball season. There's a disdain, a big disdain. But that's my thoughts on that. Now we're getting attacked for Kyle Lowry. You can't win. Can't win.
Philly fan base is toxic. We found that out this week, right?
We definitely did. You never seen Pat Bev go 1 for 9, KZ? It's never happened.
He's not on the court long enough to shoot 9 shots.
Okay. All right, then Pat was a better option, Bill. That's what you believe, and that's fine. Agree to disagree on it. You know, I'm going to tell you, I think you're a little bit wrong on it. Then you're overrating Pat Beverly. You know, I'm not saying that Pat's not a good player or a tough player, a guy I don't like, because I do like him. But Kyle Lowry is the same player at this point of his career. They're like the same guy. They really are. Like, what's the big difference in those two? Kyle can get hot, hit a couple threes. Pat can hit a couple threes. They both play good defense.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Pat just seems more athletic than the round ball that Kyle is, right?
Does he, though?
I said this seems. I said seems.
Talk about another guy who doesn't doesn't light up for you when you're talking about athleticism is Pat Bev in the NBA. Not telling you he's more athletic than me, but I mean, we're really comparing two guys that don't necessarily jump. You know, they might jump over a cardboard box, Greg, right? Yeah. Like a small cardboard box or a Post-it note, right? We're talking about their type of athleticism. Like neither one are that guy. So they're the same guy. Just one's older. Can't believe I've never overhyped the Daryl Morey move. I don't even like Daryl Morey. I think he did a good job at the deadline. Like, you want me to lie? I thought he did a good job. We needed a guy like Buddy Hield. You all complained and wanted Buddy Hield for 48 years, and then we get him, and Daryl did a terrible job because he had to give up second-round picks that nobody cares about anyway, and then he had to get those picks back. He had to get some of those back. So he had to make other moves. There was collateral damage. He had to make in other moves, but at least it was calculated. Give credit for guys being calculated. He knew he could get Kyle Lowry, so he was okay trading Pat Bev for the second-round pick, right? He was okay with it and trading Jaden Springer because he knew he could get Kyle Lowry, and he was getting campaign. So he got 2 of the 4 second-round picks back that he knows he needs to be able to move down the road if he needs to make another move next year or in the offseason. So, like, that's calculated. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not going to be a guy who flip-flops on moves. There are moves that you had to do. You had to get a guy like Buddy Hield here. And if you don't think you did, then you're not watching the Celtics and you're not watching the Milwaukee Bucks and other teams that you're going to have to beat to get to an Eastern Conference Finals or an NBA Finals. You're going to need more scoring and more perimeter scoring, and a guy like Buddy Hield fits that. PJ Tucker used to be a great locker room guy. Yeah, KZ. A lot of examples of that, too. Can't win. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Well, what did they do? What did he do that's so egregious? I mean, he traded Pat Beverly? Are you guys kidding me? Like, our season's over because of Pat Beverly? Pat Beverly's the reason that we're going to get eliminated? Stop. Kyle Lowry's the same player. You had a calculated decision going on here. You had to get a guy like Buddy Hield. Why don't we understand that? The importance of the spacing when Joel comes back with a guy like Buddy Hield and the starting 5 that you can run out at people is comparable to anybody else that's a big dog in the Eastern or Western Conference. And if you tell me it's not, then you're just a Sixers hater. If you tell me it's not comparable, you are a Sixers hater. That's it. That's it. Not many teams have that much scoring power coming at you like they're going to have when Joel Embiid's back. That's the facts. But I see a lot of people on here tonight don't like the facts. Yep, Michael, you're right. You'll see the value of Buddy when Joel gets back. Absolutely true. Unless you're KZ, because Joel's got to learn to walk again, and Bill's got all his green on today. So unless you're certain people in the chat, that is factual. That you will see the best version of Buddy Hield when Joel Embiid is back.
Yeah.
All right. And even Doc said he's going to be able to walk, guys. All right. Doc even confirmed. It was the biggest confirmation we needed tonight was will Joel Embiid walk again? And Doc says that's trending upwards. That's trending in a positive direction that he'll be able to walk again. So we're good. We're good.
Not going to need the Forrest Gump leg braces. to learn how to walk.
I can't wait till we beat the Celtics this year. Like, I can't wait till we do something that nobody thinks we're going to do, because that's how they, I don't like saying that's how these things work all the time, but like, we were out when he got hurt, right? And rightfully so. Yeah. Season over, it's all wrap. And then Sixers are just like, they're not a hot topic of conversation right now, right? Like they usually are when Joel's playing. And we know by us talking about it. Not a lot of things to get fired up about, right? When you're talking about the Sixers right now, right? Because you're in this grace period of waiting for him to come back, and you're waiting for the playoffs to begin, right? It's not like Eagles week to week, right? So you're in this little period of waiting, and I think it's the year where we think it's over, and we're a really good team, and hopefully they can just play enough together to get enough chemistry going, and let's go. Let's go.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice, because I do agree. He's going to be better. Joel's going to be better, and we're going to see Buddy better. I think a lot of maybe scrutiny is Buddy struggled recently.
Yeah.
Shooting today again, he wasn't really good. He ended up, I think, 3 of 8, but early on he was missing some really open looks, stuff like that. So I think part of that is probably what's going on is they don't like what they've seen recently, but that's all going to change when Joel gets back, as we all already know that.
Yeah, Greg, what time do you got to get out of here, Greg?
I got 10 minutes.
All right. I want to, Bill brings up, everybody better be worried with a healthy Embiid back, especially with the up and coming superstar Tyrese Maxey. What are you guys seeing from him, and what do you love about him? Besides the obvious work ethic, right? Like, what have you guys seen? Some of the growth in his game that has transpired here, especially when Joel's going out.
Yeah, no, I like the assertiveness that he's starting to play with, right? Getting to what he knows he wants to do, right? Regardless of what it is, right? We saw it early on, that step back 3. He knew what he was doing against Dante Exum, right? Or getting all the way to the hoop. I would like to see him get more calls. I think he's reached that point in his ascent that he should be starting to get more calls in the NBA, but I love the fact that he's pressing the issue and attacking, right? It's what we talked about going back to the bull question with Toby, right? Toby's better when he's downhill attacking as opposed to staying back and being passive, right? All these guys, they're all better when they're aggressive, but especially Tyrese. I mean, he's a blur on the court.
Yeah, definitely.
Another side of it too, Tommy, he's still shooting about 40%, I think 38% from 3. So like he took that step last year. I think he was over 40. What was he? 42, 43% last year, somewhere in that, mid to high 40 or, low to mid 40s. And he's still right around that, even though he's just under 40, which is good because, we hate talking about him, but that was, I think, one of the benefits of having James Harden in town was getting him the confidence to shoot the ball the way he is.
Yeah, he definitely learned some things. Last year, he was 43% from 3. This year, he's 37, about 37.5% from 3.
Okay.
So a little over that. But I think over the last few weeks, I want to say he's been up over 40. But still, his free throws have gotten better, right? But all his stuff's down a little bit. His field goal percentage is down a little bit from last year. But again, that comes with more attempts too, Greg, right?
Yeah.
He's taking more shots. Yeah,
he's taking 5 more total shots, guys, over the last 2 years. And, that's going to reflect a little bit in your field goal percentage from 48 to 44. And he's taking 2 more threes than last year. So there's some of your reasonings on the dip, but the numbers go up.
And he's probably also he's got the ball in his hands more now compared to last year when Harden and Embiid were running the pick and roll type of thing. So what I'm getting at is like, there's probably a little bit of a fatigue factor for Maxey. I mean, the guy's full of energy, but what I'm saying is, he's got the ball in his hands almost every time down the floor. So, he's shooting more, and then obviously, the percentages are just going to work out like that. He's gonna miss more because he's shooting more, and then you factor in some of the I guess the mental fatigue and physical fatigue that affects performance a little bit. But I mean, I think he's done great this year.
Yeah, he's up. I mean, he's up 5 minutes a game too. To your point, right? So factors in a little bit of that too. Ball in the hands more and playing an extra 5 minutes a night. Would definitely lead to a little bit more tired legs per se, even though he's not a tired guy.
Maybe he'll save energy if he doesn't smile as much. That's a good suggestion there. I like that. Martian, he's got to save his energy.
There's the way. I knew it was somewhere. Who takes credit for Max's success first, Doc or Harden? Definitely Doc.
Definitely Doc.
Definitely Doc. And Michael says everyone will get easier shots when Joel is back. It's not rocket science. No, it's the easiest thing to understand.
Yeah.
KZ says Lowry and Maxey in the backcourt may have gotten it done against Dallas, but it isn't a winning recipe.
Well, it won today, right? And that's the only thing we can talk about, right? Is it won today?
Won the last 2 games.
And it's won the last 2 games. It's probably going to win Tuesday night against the Nets. You would think that they would beat the Nets. And their actual schedule is pretty favorable the next couple. I mean, I say favorable. You got the next 2 games are definitely winnable. You got Brooklyn and Memphis. And then you got New Orleans, but New Orleans is at home. And then you got Knicks, Bucks. So, I mean, you could be potentially winners of 4 out of 5, if not 5 in a row, heading up to New York to face the Knicks in a pseudo back-to-back.
Yeah.
That's not a bad stretch. That's not a hard stretch.
No, with that 4 spot looming.
Yeah.
That 4 seed looming. So that's where the Knicks are. And you were tied with the Knicks currently. So that's a big little 2-game series going on there.
Yeah.
It's big for this basketball team.
And they're banged up too. They're missing some cats.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. They've been too. KZ says Sixers won this weekend because Tobias put up those contracts. No, he played great. But there's also no reason that those 2 guys in the backcourt would have healed Tobias and Joel Embiid and just throw like a Batum in there. I don't know, right? Or that's 5 right there. But you know what I mean? There's no reason that's not good enough to win. I don't know why it wouldn't be. Right? You're not gonna. It's not every minute's going to go to Kyle Lowry. You'll have other rotations that come through. I don't think we think of it like that. But in terms of starting 5, I mean it's very good. Right?
Could do worse.
That's good. Yeah, and that's just one type of way to go about it. There'll probably be times where Lowry doesn't start and Maxey starts the guard, and maybe you run a Melton with him, right? Maybe you run somebody else with him. So I'm sure there's going to be different ways they'll go about it. But it's won the last 2 games. So as much as not a winning recipe, why is it a losing one? You're just assuming it. Like Maxey's not a winning recipe, KZ, because you don't like Lowry. That's fine. But who are you going to like there more? That's my question right now. You wanted Pat Bev to be your starting point guard. Okay. All right. We're good. We're good.
And again, I think the Lowry stuff is kind of overblown because we're down 2 guards. Not only are we down Joel Embiid, we're down Campaign tonight, and you're down DeAnthony Melton. Those 2 guards you would assume, because both of them can have impacts on the game, are going to cut into Lowry's dump of minutes over the last 2 games. I didn't think he'd be starting, right? You know what I mean? But I thought he would have an impact. Right, but he's having more of an impact, or at least more minutes, because of we're down 2 guards.
No, you're right. That's the whole thing. Like he's not going to play as many minutes. Doesn't mean he might not start a game.
Sure.
but doesn't mean he's going to run out there the whole rest of the game. Like that's where guys don't understand. That's where KZ's not understanding it, right? He's running your show. He's not in there. Like I said, he made a big three today. That's what he's really in there to do. He's in there to like be able to hit an open three, which, okay, today he wasn't good from the field, but the night before he hit open threes. So that's what you're looking for. And when you have even more spacing, and guys, he's just a savvy vet. That's all. Like, he's a savvy vet. Like, if you watch the last two games, you see some of that. I'm not crowning the guy, but if he plays 15, 20 minutes when you have all your guards at your disposal, like, that's not going to hurt this basketball team at all. It's actually probably going to help it. It's all you're looking for is a little extra help. None of these guys have to carry you. Your carrier and the savior of this basketball team is coming back shortly. That's your carrier. And yeah, the buckle in big moments is insane. Yeah, like come on. What are we comparing him to Andre Miller? What are we doing, Kay? I don't know what we're doing.
What are we doing?
I don't know. We got 4 minutes left. So we're just trying to make it through till Joel comes back, right? Same as the show. We're just trying to 4 more minutes. Maybe we'll get some news that he's back tomorrow. Then he'll be back Tuesday. He lifted 100%.
Joel's back with a 3D leg.
Yep, 3 days.
First amputee player to ever shoot up in an NBA game.
Yep. And Bill, you're not wrong, Bill. I mean, the 8 seed's looming too. I mean, everything's jammed up there, right? You know, we're a game up on Orlando that's in the 7, right? And you're 2 games up or a game and a half up on Indiana in the 8. So yeah, it's all jumbled. That's why the Sixers got to keep winning games. And these next 2 are really important, right? These next 2 are gigantic to be able to get 2 wins. Try to be winners of 4 in a row. I think you're really going to start seeing some separation if they can do that. And then we'll talk about what's coming up in New York.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, 4 in a row, or 4 in a row with a good New Orleans team coming into town. It's going to be a good test, right? You know what I mean? Because you're going to be playing with confidence. You're going to be winners of 4 in a row, flying high, and then you get a good team and probably a good test with New Orleans coming in. So I don't see why they couldn't do that. They need to.
Yeah, and Kyle Lowry has 17 assists over the last 2 games he started, and the Sixers have won both of them. So,
yeah, I think the interesting thing is that, I mean, I don't think this will happen, and hopefully I'm not jinxing anything. But let's say the Sixers completely, like, they lose, and they're losing big over the next couple of weeks, and they're just like, now they're like out of it. Like, there's really mathematics doesn't work out. Like, then at that point, if he's not already back, do you bring him back, or do you just shut it down? I mean, I don't think that's going to happen because I think they're going to be in the thick of it. It's just, hopefully when he comes back, it's at the right point in time where he can get himself back up to where he's ready for the playoffs. But if the extreme were to happen where they just lost for some reason, then maybe that gets put into the discussion. Because then why bring him back if you're not going to make the playoffs?
yeah, I think it's like almost. I
Doc's
guess not.
Doc's trying to set the world on fire in the chat right before we get out of here.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to. You're like 9.5 games up on the final play-in team, so to not make anything would almost be impossible, right?
Yeah.
So they would have to lose it's possible. Anything's possible. It's Philly. So if they lost like 5 in a row, that conversation is creeping in. But it would almost have to be like an epic collapse. Like they would have to lose where they got like 20-something games left. I mean, they would
around there.
Yeah, they'd have to lose. They probably have to lose every one of them because Atlanta stinks. So no, they're not going to be doing any winning down there. And they're the 10 spot right now. And they are 21.5 games out of the 1 seed, and we're 12.5 right now. So, but into the playing game, that's where that question comes.
That's on the table for sure.
Yeah, like which is in that 7 to 10 range. which they're only a game up out of that 7 spot. So that's where it becomes important when you're talking about Joel and coming back and what decision do they make. That's where it becomes important. So, but the Celtics are awesome since they added Jaden Springer. So just so everybody knows.
Had to be Jade Springer.
All right, before we wrap it up for today, Doc, thanks for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you got going on.
Sure. You can, we're in Cherry Hill and Burlington townships. You can find us at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. If you need therapy, we take all insurances that we're a network with, most of them, including Medicare for any of these old folks out there. Whether it's back pain, joint pain of any type, concussion, vertigo, balance, we see all of that. So give us a ring if you need therapy.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking Joel with us for the 1000th time. We thank everybody out there that tuned in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, turn their alerts on. We appreciate everybody. That's Dr. Paul Vidal. Nick Delgado is not with us anymore. He's still around, but not with us right now. That's Craig Milwakovic. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, we appreciate you. We thank you. Go Sixers. We're out.